Methodist, but she just was one of the godliest saints. Ruth Williams, one of the godliest saints I ever knew. Sunday morning comes, I'm back shaking hands with people in the vestibule. They come in. Ruth Williams was the first one that saw them come in. I'll never forget, she got up and rushed back and threw her arms around this young lady and called her by her male name. She said, "Richard, you know I don't agree with what you did. But I want you to know I love you. And like all my former pupils, I pray for you every day. And I want you to know I'm so glad you came home. You will always be welcome home." I watched mascara begin to run. And I watched Richard as she embraced Sister Williams. They're both weeping now. And she said, "Sister Williams, you don't know how much that means to me." As I watched them, I thought, oh God, that's the way the church ought to be. God forbid that it would ever be my son or my daughter that would be wayward. But I'm going to tell you, if they ever are, I don't want the church to pat them on the head and say, "What you did's all right. You know, God just take you any way you want to be." But neither do I want the church to stone them. I want the church to say to them, "You know we don't agree with what you did, but we love you. And we're glad you're here. And you will always be welcome home." I shared this message in Crown City, Ohio about 2 years ago. There was a dear brother that had just moved there and joined the church from a United Methodist church, a dear brother. And I noticed that morning after, he didn't say anything to me. Man, he just got out of there after the service. We're finally done shaking hands with everyone. We're getting ready to go to lunch. And he walks back in, tears streaming down his cheeks. He said, "Oh, Reverend Hotle, I had to come back and tell you." He said, "When you gave that illustration this morning," he said, "I have a lesbian daughter that's been living with a lady now for about 14 years. He said, for 14 years I have refused to talk to her. I've refused to let her come home. I took it as a personal affront." He said, "I just got to tell you that after that message this morning, I went home and I called her and I said, 'Honey, I want you to know I don't approve of what you did. I don't approve of what you're doing. Never will. But I'm sorry. I love you. I'm still your dad. And I want you to know that you're always welcome home.'" I'm going to tell you something, friend. Long after I'm dead, I want my children to know that somewhere there's a church that'll love them, that will always have their arms outstretched, that will be an extension of my family, that will show them mercy, that will show them maturity. I want them to be able to come back. And so that morning that I dedicated little Caleb, I told that congregation, "I want you to know this morning I'm taking a covenant with God this morning. God being my helper, I'm not going to send my grandkids to hell. Oh God, let me be intentional. Let me live my life in front of them so that it'll draw them and woo them. Don't let me send my grandkids to hell." I turned to my son-in-law, Jay, and I said, "Jay, don't you ever send this child to hell. You be the spiritual head of the house. You have family altar. You train him in the way he should go. Don't leave it up to the pastor. Don't leave it up to the church. It's your responsibility to be the spiritual peace in your household." I turned to my daughter and I said, "Amber, I want you to make a covenant this morning. That God helping you, you're going to be a loving mother, and that you're going to help this child to know that your highest priority in life is to see him make heaven and to be there as a safe haven for him to run to." And I turned to the Lafayette Church of the Nazarene that morning And I said, I want you to make a covenant this morning. Don't send my grandson to hell. Don't fight over stupid things that don't matter. Don't fight over nonsense. But be a loving, nurturing, caring congregation. And may he always know in his heart that if he ever strays away from God, that somewhere in Lexington, Kentucky is a church that will say to him, we may not approve of what you're doing, but we love you, and our arms are outstretched to you, and you will always be welcome home. That's what I'm going to ask you to do tonight. We're going to end this service differently. If you want to kneel, you can. But if you want to just come and stand, if you're willing to mean it from the depths of your heart, oh God, save my home. Revive my home. I want a home that glorifies God. I don't want my children, my grandchildren to be lost. And if you are willing to make a covenant before God tonight, that God being your helper, you'll model the faith to your grandchildren. You'll mold your children. You'll be the kind of parent. And if you don't have children, be the kind of church member that can adopt someone else's children and give them a surrogate mom or dad or grandma or grandpa to point them to heaven. Let's stand. Oh God. Oh God. We need revival in our homes. Save our homes. We looked at these precious teens on Thursday night. What a great group. Don't let them ever see anything out of the Indian Springs family that will shake their faith or to make them to doubt the validity of holiness. These precious tweens, the precious children that are on these grounds, oh God. Help us as moms and dads who claim faith. Oh God, don't let us send our children to hell. As we stand, are you willing to make that kind of covenant tonight? Do you want revival in your home? If you do, you could just come and stand before this altar. We'll pray a prayer. Don't come unless you mean it. But if you want revival in your home, if you're willing to do whatever it takes, come. Let's make a fresh covenant with Him tonight. Brother David will sing as we're tearing just a moment. Almighty God, I'm renewing my covenant tonight. Lord, I thank you for little Preston, for Nathan, for Caleb, for Emily, for Tyler, for these precious grandchildren that you have blessed darling I with. Oh God, don't let me ever stray. Don't let me ever send my grandchildren to hell. Help me to be intentional, oh God, about what they see in my life. May they see me in the Word. May they see me on my knees. May they see something in my life, oh God, that makes them say, oh, I want to know God like my papa knows God. Oh God, help me to model the faith. And help each grandparent here, Lord, right now to make that same covenant.